understand the application of this 2x2 sales matrix in real time. So, Gunjan, may I request you to display
Yes,
the slide?
I shall do that.
So I'll tell you why the slide comes up. This concept of 2x2, I picked up at HCL Tech, one of the most successful sales organization that we would have seen. If you would have tracked sales, if you would have tracked HCL Tech for last 12 to 16 quarters, they've been one of the most successful organizations as compared to Wipro, TCS, and Infosys. I picked up this 2x2 sales matrix concept at HCL Technologies, one of the best sales organizations that I would have ever come across. Uh, can you move to the next slide? The first question is, what does this 2x2 matrix attempt to do? The 2x2 matrix uh, is a very structured and very organized methodology where it helps you to increase your footprint in a customer base. Now, if you do so, eventually you end up increasing your wallet share with your customers. So that's the fundamental concept of 2x2 matrix. I repeat, it helps you to increase your footprint in a customer base. Now, where do you apply this 2x2 matrix? You apply this 2x2 matrix for a large enterprise account where you have fair amount of complexity, where you have multiple buyers, you have multiple buying entities, you have huge amount of political factors in the organization, and fairly complex. So you apply this concept of 2x2 in those accounts which are fairly large enterprises. You don't apply this to a small or a mid-size because the complexity is less and you have more or less a single entity to deal with, right? So just look at the slide. It has x-axis and it has y-axis. So what does it attempt to do? It attempts to map all your offerings that you have in your bag and categorize them under existing and new. And you look at a customer. In the customer organization, you have an existing customer and you have a new customer. Now I'll explain you this concept a little more in detail in the next slide, and then you will understand the application of this better. Just put on the Gunjan, just click all the four.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically, you will see how you apply this 2x2 matrix for a large enterprise. So ideally, you see the arrows. This arrows gives you a sense as to how do you enter an organization, and then how do you navigate horizontally, and how do you navigate vertically in a customer organization. So that's a basic fundamental concept. Now we'll understand this concept by taking a real-time example where you will understand this a little better. So if you see, let me assume a hypothetical example that I'm from a sales organization of managed services. I've taken an example of hypothetically a managed services because it becomes relatively easy for all to understand. I've not taken enterprise, I've not taken analytics because it becomes difficult for everyone to relate and resonate. So let's assume that I'm a salesperson and I want to apply this 2x2 matrix. I'm a salesperson from managed services business, Harpal's team, and I want to apply this 2x2 matrix to a large enterprise account. Let's hypothetically say it's Maruti. So what is that? So if you look at extreme right, this tells you what is my portfolio that I have in my bag. So I have infrastructure managed services, I have AMC, I have a SaaS, I have MPS, and I have RIM. So these are my offerings as part of the portfolio under the managed services, and I'm responsible to take this portfolio to the market. Now come back to this matrix. Can you put up the first click?
Yes,
To the first clips. Now, typically, Maruti, like an organization, has been an existing customer of ours. So there is an enterprise business which is already doing business with them. There's a workspace already doing mobility and device business with them. There's analytics who's already doing an analytics business, with digital engineering doing analytics business with Maruti. So typically, I as a salesperson of managed services would like to enter it from the lowermost quadrant of extreme left lower quadrant. So what I do, I leverage my existing base, since I have a goodwill and this part of the organization has worked with my other parts of the business units. I leverage my existing base and I use my existing offering, which has been my strength. So AMC today is one of our oldest business in about 34 years. So I used AMC to enter the organization to the lowermost quadrant on the extreme left, and I leverage my existing relationship base. So let's assume that Atul Gupta is my existing base who has done business with me in the enterprise, who has done business with me in analytics or any one of them. So I leverage him and I start engaging a conversation using my existing base. I position it as a service offering. I talk about my value proposition. I talk about my differentiation, and I end up enabling a sale with Atul Gupta. Let's hypothetically assume that I close the deal about 8 crores. Now, very interesting to note, I've seen many of the best salespeople, they engage the organization in this part, and then they just disengage. They do not navigate within the organization. So this is my experience in the past with people. So they enter the organization through a relationship or existing base, they sell a proposition, and they exit the organization. But that's not what we want to do. So if you see, now that you've entered Atul Gupta, you have built a relationship with Atul Gupta, and I've sold AMC. Now, it's important for me to understand what else that Atul Gupta is responsible for buying. I suddenly figure out that Atul Gupta is also responsible for buying SaaS within Maruti. Just click on the second arrow. So now I know that Atul Gupta is also responsible. So what I do, I navigate horizontally and I establish a conversation with Atul Gupta. Now you see here, if you see this quadrant, you see Atul Gupta is your existing base, whereas your SaaS is relatively a new offering. Your SaaS is just about 6 months to 1 year new offering, as against your AMC, which is your conventional strength where you have good credibility. Now, this is relatively a hard sell because it's a new offering. You're building your capabilities here. You do not have too much of wins under your bag, but you are leveraging your existing base of Atul Gupta. So that neutralizes to a great extent. That you have a new offering in your bag. So you leverage Atul Gupta, you have a past connect with him, you have sold AMC to him, you have a goodwill that is established. Now that gives you immense confidence to position SaaS, and you leverage your goodwill and relationship to enable your sale for SaaS in Maruti. And you sell a SaaS for about 5 crore deal that you close. Now, as I said, if you look at the quadrant, it's an existing customer and relatively a new offering which has been introduced just about 6 months or about 1 year. So I use this relationship of my existing base and I sell up and I end up selling sales. So what I've done, I've navigated to the organization through the AMC. I've established my goodwill. Now I've navigated horizontally. I found out that the same customer also buys SaaS, and I position SaaS and I'm able to sell SaaS to him. Now that's not enough. Now I again have another 3 offerings in my bag, which I relatively believe a company like Maruti would definitely consume all of these services, may not from me, but would be from someone. So now my next endeavor as a salesperson would be, how do I identify who buys infrastructure managed services? How do I identify who buys MPS? And how do I identify RIM? The idea is everything that I have in my bag, I should be able to sell and position to Maruti. So what my next pursuit would be is to vertically navigate. Click on the next slide, click on the next click. Now the next step is basically I do a research to find out who in Maruti is responsible for buying managed services. So there are 2 ways to do it. Either I leverage my existing base, which is Atul Gupta, and I seek his goodwill to say that, can you please help me identify who is responsible for buying managed services? So that's one source. The other source is basically, I can't depend only on Atul Gupta. I have to use my own sources to figure out who are the other power buying within the Maruti. Who is that person who's responsible for managed services? And with all this homework, either through my sources or through my existing base, Atul, I realized that there is one gentleman by name Raman Kumar, who within Maruti is responsible for managed services. Now, how do I reach out to him? Now, I need a holding hand. I need some leverage within the organization. So what do? I leverage once again, my existing relationship. So I go back to Atul and I tell him, hey, Atul, I understand that Raman is responsible for managed services and we have a great proposition. Can you please help me connect to Raman? But then that alone is not a professional good conversation, because why should Atul Gupta introduce you? Because Atul has certain credibility and he obviously would need to understand that why and what is that you have different, which gives him a confidence to introduce Raman. In other words, what is the business issue that you're trying to solve of Raman, which can be a differentiator? In other words, why should he introduce you to Raman? So I would go to Atul and say that, Atul, we have a real differentiation as part of our managed services. We have a zero incident concept wherein we help organizations to mitigate the frequently occurring incidents completely, as against these every time reaching to service desk, so that we reduce the load on the service desk and we improve customer satisfaction. That's one. Second, we also have a basket of tools such as self-help and self-heal, which help organization to create an empowered user community, and therefore it improves customer satisfaction. So I actually tell him what is my value proposition and how can it help Raman improve his life, and what business issue of Raman that I'm able to solve. Now, it also, before I communicate this to Atul Gupta, it's very important that I also do some homework about Raman, try and understand that what challenges that he's facing. Because unless and until I really know what business issue he has and what is that I have to offer, I will never be able to communicate this proposition. So I use Atul Gupta to communicate this differentiation. I leverage his goodwill. Now that Atul is fairly convinced that I have a powerful proposition which can help Maruti in terms of improving his customer index or his customer satisfaction, he actually puts me on a hook to Raman and says that, hey, look, here is an organization that I've dealt. They're a great organization. I've dealt with him in EMC. I've dealt with him in SaaS. I have a great experience. And they have a very powerful proposition. Why don't you look at them? I pick up that hook and I start a conversation with Raman. Now, you still have no substitute to go through the same sales cycle. You have to tell him your differentiation. You have to talk about your unique value proposition, what you bring to the table, and you go through the sales cycle of, putting a proposal, defending your proposal, and articulating the value that you can bring to the table. And you end up enabling a sale. So I end up enabling a sale. So I make a managed services sale. Let's assume hypothetically about 25 crores. So I've done AMC, I've done SaaS, I've done managed services. The next step is to identify who else buys MPS and who else buys RIM. Incidentally, I also figure that Raman, who buys managed services, the closest adjacency for managed services is managed print services. I also figure out that he also is responsible for buying MPS within Maruti. So now I start a conversation with Raman slowly and initiate a conversation on my MPS. Now look at it. Your Raman's is existing offering. So look at it. Managed services is an existing offering and MPS is an existing offering. Both of them are conventionally, traditionally old. We have good strengths, we have good credibility. So I'm using my existing offering, managed services. I'm using my existing offering MPS, but the customer is new. So I've sold managed services now. Now I'm initiating a conversation on MPS. I go through the same sales cycle and I build credibility around MPS, show my differentiators and enable a sale MPS. So I've made a sale of MPS for about 5 crores. Now comes the next step. Now I've sold everything almost in my bag. I started with AMC. I navigated horizontally, sold SaaS. I navigated vertically, identified the buyer for managed services. I sold managed services. I sold MPS. Now what's in my bag? I have RIM. Now I have RIM. I want to identify who's the person within Maruti who can consume my RIM services. Now comes an extremely difficult sell. You have a new offering, which is completely relatively new, not as old as AMC, not as old as MPS, not as old as MPS services. And you also have a new customer altogether. Now, this could be Raman. Just click. Now, this could be a completely new customer altogether. This could be Gaurav. Now, again, you do your own research. You identify who within Maruti is responsible for buying managed print services. I do this again through my own sources and intelligence, or I use Atul Gupta or Raman to help me identify who's the right person. But again, there's no substitute. My research is no substitute within, and then I use the leverage of existing base. I identify Gaurav as a person. Now, this quadrant is the most difficult because one, you have not dealt with him in the past because he's a new customer. You look at the graph, he's a new customer, and you also have a new proposition RIM where you've not had great success in the past. It's an evolving business. We are building capabilities around it, and we don't have past credentials. So it's an extremely hard sell. Now, so you establish your credibility there. There's no to substitute in positioning your value proposition, your differentiation, go through the same sales process. It's a hard sell because the customer is new, your proposition is new, everything is evolving. But you finally use your sales tactics and intelligence in enabling a sale in RIM. So I end up selling RIM 5 crores. Now, if you see, what have I done? I have actually entered the organization through my existing base. I've sold a service which is extremely old, where I've deep proficiency in AMC. I've entered through a left quadrant of extreme bottom. Thereafter, I navigated horizontally to sell my proposition of SaaS. I further navigated horizontally to sell managed print services and MPS and identifying a new customer within the Maruti. And then I further navigated horizontally to identify a new buyer for RIM and enabling sale. So you see how I have grown my footprint in the customer organization in a period of 6 months to 12 months. Initially, my share of wallet is 8 crores. Over a period of 12 months, I've increased from 8 plus 5, 13 to 25 plus 5, and I've made this a 50 crore account by expanding my base in a very logical, organized way through my research, through leveraging my goodwill. I was able to position all my offerings in Maruti by doing this research, identifying the people in a very orchestrated manner. And by doing so, I have increased my share of wallet. So actually, I've eaten into competition share. I grew my business and I've entered into I've eaten into competition share. And as a result, I was able to increase my wallet share. So Maruti today, when I started, was about an 8 crore account for me in managed services. And eventually, at the end of 6 months to 12 months, this is today a 50 crore account. And I've inadvertently sold everything in my bag. And I've increased my footprint and I increased my wallet share. So that's the concept. So that brings me to an end of explaining you the concept and application of this concept using one of our BU, say managed services to help you explain this concept. Now I open up the floor for questions. Any questions around it? Have you just be on the last slide so that people can see that slide?
Yes, sir.
Was I able to communicate how do you use this matrix to increase your base in a customer organization and expand your base in a customer organization? Move from something that you've entered and grow this business and grow your wallet share in this Maruti as an account to about a 50 crores and eventually sell everything that I have as part of my managed services portfolio. Any questions? I'll be happy to take. This is a very powerful concept. As I said, HCL Tech uses this for any large organization. They have large customers like Sony, which is a $100 million business. They have a Best Buy retail, which is a $200 million. There's a Tesco, which is about $300 million. So when you have large organizations spanning multiple geographies, complex buying, multiple buyers separated within the organization, this metric helps you to navigate very systematically in improving your base in a customer footprint. Yeah. Any questions? I'm done with that.
So, sir, with this current situation where most of the, customer side as well as from our side or any medium is working from home, or they are now not located in office, and there is very little leverage that we can be on in the customer profiles and do this digging of who is responsible for MPS, who is responsible for RIM. So can you put a light a little on like within this remote working scenario, how we can leverage this part of identifying the people? Do we need to use our OEM channel or disti channel to get those information which is required? So if that can be with this current situation, how we can align this process. So if a little on that, it could be helpful, sir.
Yeah, see, there are two things. One, yes, I do understand that you no longer have the luxury of sitting across with the customer and establishing that rapport. You don't exist. So therefore, you have a virtual medium, and virtual medium has its own challenges because you can only establish your connect so much so on a personal side. But I think it's all the more important that you do your research thorough. I mean, your intensity of doing the research in terms of who are the people in the customer organization. You could do this through multiple sources. You could identify through OEM. You could use your own customer base existing to identify. You could use any other sources to identify people. You could also identify talking to multiple people within the customer organizations to figure out what are those challenges that they are facing and what are those business issues that you're facing. It becomes extremely important now in the current concept that your research becomes extremely important because your time window with the customer is very less. Hence, you have to be sharp, you have to be focused what you want to communicate. And that means essentially your homework and research has to be very, very powerful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We have a few questions coming in the chat box as well. I'll just read out the question for you. What pointers should we take in consideration while researching on a profile or company?
Just repeat the question.
What pointers should we take in consideration while doing a research on a profile or a company?
Okay, there are two things. One, when you research for a company, obviously you would look at a growing entity, you look at a growing concern and growing entities, organizations who've been profitable year on year, who's been growing, who've been showing aggressive signs of growth, who've been investing, who has been investing in lot in their business. Like you look at Reliance, you look at their P&L, you see how much, huge amount of investment, huge amount of residual profit that they make. They keep on investing that money for new businesses. So that's one positive sign of anyone making investment in their own business is a very positive sign. Profitability index. There are sources which actually tell you which are the organizations which are profitable. So you do some of these researches through newspapers, through media, through some of these P&Ls or the director reports in the customer organizations to report that which are the organizations which are fairly doing well. As coming specific to the research, once you enter into the organization, like example, I need to do research about Raman. What does Raman look after? What is Raman's issue? I mean, if I do not know what is Raman's problem in life, what is the business challenge that he's facing, or what is that business issue that he's facing, there's no way that I can go and connect with him as to how I can improve his life. So this calls for an intense research. So either you get these researches done with the help of your existing base or through some other sources to figure out what is Maruti's challenge specifically in the managed services. Because if I don't know that challenge, then I'm a completely blinder. There is no way that I'm able to connect the dots, what I have got to offer and how will it help his life making better. So this research is very, very important. And you need to do this extensive research either by talking to someone in the organization or by reaching out to Raman to figure out that what would make his life simpler, what is his challenge, and what would make his life simpler. And then you connect with what you have as to how you can differentiate and make a difference to him.
Right. I hope that answers your questions, Mr. Abhishek Bhardwaj. The next question, sir, we have is...
Okay. Thank you, Ram.
Okay. So the next question we have is, being from IMS division, I would not have a proper training to sell SaaS. How do I overcome this challenge of learning new product offerings while still focusing on my core business?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it is fundamental that if any salesperson I mean, you're not only expected to know the portfolio that you carry. I mean, that's fundamental. I mean, you need to know everything that your business has to offer because you're a common sales guy. You need to have deep proficiency in each of the portfolio that you carry. So if you do not have enough knowledge on SaaS, my suggestion is go and talk to your business head. Tell him that I have less orientation on this particular thing. Does not give me enough confidence to go and socialize with the customer when it comes to SaaS. So please get yourself adequately equipped in understanding SaaS offering, because as a sales guy, you're not only supposed to understand the portfolio that you carry, but you also need to have some amount of detailing about the team's portfolio so that you're able to present a larger picture to the customer, right? So if you don't have, immediately reach out to your BU head, tell him that I want to get myself oriented. Do not hesitate, because many times we as adults, we hesitate. We have a reluctance to tell that I'm not aware of this. So proactively go and tell him so that you are able to engage, you are able to understand this SaaS offering. Please talk to Harpal, please talk to Ashish, and they'll be able to explain to you. This message is not only to this particular person, anybody who's in enterprise, anybody who's in digital engineering, anybody who's in workspace, each and every single person who's supposed to carry the entire portfolio on behalf of their business units needs to know about the end-to-end portfolio, and they need to have a knowledge of 10 out of 10. Only then they can engage a deep conversation. Now you look at this existing customer, Atul Gupta, but a new offering. Now, if you do not have enough conviction and confidence in your SaaS, there's no way that you're going to take this proposition to Atul, because Atul is your existing base, but your proposition is new. He's not going to buy from you just because he's bought AMC from you. You need to really know your proposition well. You need to differentiate well. You need to tell what's your unique proposition. So unless you're really adequately equipped, you will not be able to navigate. You will not be able to confidently socialize what you have. That will be a limiting factor.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So the next question we have is from OP Wali, sir. He asks, what will be the tentative time cycle to build this account? And do we require dedicated senior account managers to handle it?
Right. So the first question is, please understand, it is not an Excel job. It takes anywhere between 6 months to 12 months to about 18 months to map a very large enterprise account. Please understand, while you're consolidating your base within the customer organization, you are actually trying to navigate and enter and eat into your competition base by doing a lot of research and so on and so forth. So it's not an easy task. It takes anywhere between 6 months to about 18 months to establish an all-round relationship. And I'll tell you, I forgot to tell you one thing very important. Now, if you look at these 4 metrics, you look at the balance. The balance must be fairly there at any given point of time. If you populate your opportunities for all your portfolios in this, and if you see that at any given point of time, the opportunities has an imbalance in these 4 quadrants, then it is an efficacy and gives you a message that you've not handled the account well. Now, let's assume that if only my lower 2 quadrants are filled and my upper 2 is empty, which means that I'm missing out on something and I'm not sold something which the customer like Maruti buys. So unless and until I have a funnel which is fairly uniformly balanced in all 4 quadrants, it does not justify that you have done this justice to this great account and you have mapped it well. So the second question, that is, yes, it's not about years of experience, it's about the competence. Today, in an IT industry, it's not about experience, about 8, 10 years or 12 years of experience. It's about the right sales competence. Someone should understand the basic sales process, and more importantly, someone should be versatile with what portfolio that he carries, and how will he be able to differentiate, and how will he be able to defend his stand in front of the customer. So he has to be smart enough to do a research. He has to be smart enough and intelligent to do many research before he enters into the customer organization. Even during the sales execution stage, you have to do a lot of research about finding about the various people in the organization, what they do, why will they be able to buy from you, what is the challenge that you're facing, and most important thing, you need to know any portfolio that you carry, what is the business issue that you're trying to address for the customer. Unless and until you know this thoroughly well, you will not be able to connect the dots with the customer. So your homework has to be thorough. So it needs maturity, common sense. It's not about years of experience, but these two matter. And in coming to specifically, how much time does it take to map a large account like Maruti or an Airtel or a HDFC bank? This can take anywhere between 6 months to about 18 months. And it's a very, very structured, orchestrated process where you navigate within the organization.
Sure, sir. So the next question is, how do you enter or resell to the subsidiaries which are not directly connected with the mother organization and have different stakeholders?
Well, you use the same concept. You see, for reaching to any account, you need a hook. Now, if there is a subsidiary that you want to deal with, and this is a parent organization that you have dealt with, you'll have to see whether Atul or Raman or Gaurav, someone will be able to give that connect. So you use that connect. If you're entering for the first time, then you look at the left quadrant of the extreme bottom. Let's assume that this is a subsidiary. This is a new account. Either I use Atul or Raman to introduce me here, or if not, then I start with an offering which I have an undisputed market leadership. I have an undisputed differentiation. So AMC is my key differentiation. I start the conversation with AMC and I establish, and then I use the same techniques to navigate horizontally and vertically to establish, increase my base, increase my footprint in the base.
All right, sir. For the last 10 minutes, I have 4 more questions for you. While entering into a big account, the sales personnel may start from selling small just to get entry into the account. Customer is also checking the credibility of the organization. And since it's a small business, the sellers somehow or the other take it for granted. In such a scenario, how do we increase the credibility?
Well, it always happens so. In a large account, if you're a new vendor, the customer would obviously try something small with you, will take incremental baby steps thereafter. So it's bound to be, so nothing to get hassle. He may try something which is least impact to him because he's trying something first. There is quite a possibility that he may come back with tons and terms or making complicated for you. There is possibility. So these are all the challenges a sales guy faces. He may start small. Eventually you build credibility. He may start with something which has a least impact to him. He may start with something which is a high problem for him, right? He may give it to you. So all these possibilities exist and you can't rule out any of these options. So if you start small, nothing wrong. You start small, you slowly build your confidence, you slowly build your goodwill, and then slowly navigate in the account. So it's not about small or big. It's about how do you enter in an account? How do you build your customer base? And how do you leverage this customer base to navigate within the account? The small or big doesn't matter. Sometimes you always start small.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. So the next question is, why will the customer put all eggs in one basket? Few large enterprises do not want dependence on one partner. How do we handle this situation or give comfort to the customer?
Answer is yes or no. I've seen in my 30 years of my experience, I've seen there are 2 organizations. One, strategically, they decide that they do not want to put all eggs in basket. You can't do anything there. They decide that I will only take AMC and SaaS from you. I may decide not to take managed services because my dependency, and I'll give you a small example. At one point of time, when I was in Wipro, we used to do 90% of Infosys business. Infotech used to do. Overnight, they realized that the dependency on Wipro Infotech was very, very high. And over a period of 6 months, they tapered down our engagement from 90% to about just mere 30%. And that too, which has a least impact on Infosys. Quite possible. Quite possible. So you can't do anything. Some organizations are very clear that wherein they say that we will have different vendors for different, so that they do not want to have the same vendor building dominance and trying to dictate. So that's one thought. There is another set of organizations, large organizations that I've seen. I mean, look at our L&T Finance today. Look at L&T Finance today. We do digital engineering, we do enterprise, we do cloud, we do devices, we do management services. Why do they see as an advantage? They see the economies of scale in terms of dealing with one vendor by consolidating their IT spend. They believe that they'll be able to bargain better with us. they'll be able to have one neck to choke rather than 4 necks to choke. So it all depends on how the organization perceives. There are two schools of thoughts, and you need to live with that.
All right. So the next question is, do we have any sort of cross-vertical war room for our strategic accounts to create more synergies towards increasing RMS?
Cross-vertical war room. See, we've started verticalization through digital engineering. We have the capability that we had built through NBFC and the capability that we have built through Auto gives us immense confidence to build capabilities in other verticals such as healthcare, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. My suggestion is, eventually, these are horizontal offering. You look at managed services, they're horizontal offering. It doesn't matter which vertical you sell. You look at enterprise, it doesn't really matter which vertical you sell. But it's very important to understand the overall vertical pitch. Because if you're able to understand the overall vertical pitch, you will be able to understand what are their challenges, what are their concerns, what are their priorities. You will be able to understand what are the macroeconomic factors which are influencing them. And hence, you can possibly align a conversation in such a way which actually helps you to position your services. You may eventually end up selling a box. You may eventually end up selling a device. You may eventually end up selling a horizontal service. But if you are able to understand their nuances of their industry, you are able to understand how the macroeconomic challenges are affecting them. And therefore, how can your service offering be a differentiation, or how can it impact him on a positive side? If you're able to understand this, therefore, I'm saying it has to be a strong connect between the industry that you're trying to sell vis-a-vis what you have to offer. Unless you bring in that strong connect and bring in why you are able to sell to him and what is that you're making an impact, or which business issue of his you're trying to impact, and how will you make his life better, you will not enable a sale. Or it will be a very low-end rudimentary sale, which is not value-driven.
Okay, sir. So for the last 5 minutes, we have 3 more questions. As we say, first impression is the last impression. But in the current scenario of COVID, we are talking to the customers over calls or hangouts. It is difficult to put that impression on a telecall. Please suggest.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, today, some of the organizations are coaching all the sales organizations and IT organizations to see how they can improve virtual selling. Virtual selling is not easy. This country has not been used to, at least Indian market has not been used to. I've been part of the global markets for some, and I will tell you that they are much used to, because the global markets, you don't have the luxury to go and each and every time you have a 10 pre-sales call or 10 delivery calls. You never have a luxury to go and meet the customer every time. It's only virtual, and those customers are used to. But in India, our customers are not used to. We are not used to. We have a psychology of meeting the customer in person. The customer prefers meeting in person. So there are a lot of emotions connect that establish between two. So you are not able to bond. You're not able to establish that bonding in the current scenario. And virtual selling has its own challenges. So some of our salespeople are grossly suffering from this syndrome as to how to build the country, how to build not only us, but there are various sales organizations that I've, my past organizations have found, they are facing these challenges of this virtual. There's no two ways about it, because your conversations have become short, crisp. Of what you had luxury about 1.5 hours have now become 15 minutes and half an hour. So your homework has to be aptly strong, your research has to be aptly strong, and your message has to be crisp, short, and impactful. So there's no to substitute in your homework, because you don't have the luxury to yap. So you have to be far more focused in what you want to communicate, what you want to impactfully communicate, and therefore your research for every call, what should be my conversation, what should be my takeaway, and what should be my script, what should be the key questions that you should have, so that I have a positive, impactful output at the end of every conversation. So your preparation becomes 10 times more important.
Absolutely. So the next question is, how will we get a second chance where we fail to deliver in the first order as per customer expectation?
You may not get. Your first impression is the last impression in these large enterprises. And I'll tell you one thing, I've been a sales guy all through, handled various roles. But I'll tell you, as a sales guy, I'll tell you, you make a mistake in this large account, you don't get any opportunity, you don't get a second opportunity. You have lost. So you have to be extremely careful be it when you talk and when you present yourself for the first time, because there's no takes, there's no retakes. When you present it for the first time, or you've been given a chance to execute a deal, if you mess it up, there is a high chance that you would lose your existing base, and the chance of you navigating within the account also reduces, because the word of mouth in these large accounts is so high. There are, as I said, there are various power political factors inside. So if you mess up for the first time, that's your last time in this large enterprise. So you have to be careful, your preparation has to be best, and your execution has to be flawless. The first time he buys from you because of your sales flamboyance, the second time he buys because of your experience.
Absolutely, we're clear on that. So the last question we have for you is, in a vertical sales structure, it's easy to follow this matrix. But with the horizontal structure that we have, wherein there are at least 6 to 7 sales managers going to an account, how do we leverage this matrix?
No. So guys, I strongly beg to differ that if and only I have a vertical story, that I can navigate using this 2x2 matrix, expand my footprint in the customer base. It's a myth. There's nothing like that. Now I've taken I could have taken an example of enterprise. I could have taken an example of digital engineering, but I chose to take an example which is extremely simple to understand, which is extremely simple to apply to this concept, and has got nothing to do with a vertical story. But as I said, a little of vertical story always helps, because I'll tell you one thing, any organization is not insulated from the macroeconomic changes. Now take an example. Let's assume that if the steel prices are going up, if the furnace oil price is going up, the steel prices go up. Steel prices is going up will have a direct impact on all the cars industry or all industries which consume metal, right? So can any industry insulate himself or herself from any change in the macroeconomic changes? No. So fundamentally, you need to know about that company, you need to know about the vertical, you need to understand what challenges that this vertical is going, what are their priorities, you need to understand them. But having said that, I've taken a very simple example of managed services where it's purely a horizontal, and I've showed you how to navigate. So it's only a myth that you need to have a vertical understanding. But having said that, it always helps you enabling your sale, because it helps you improve your quality of sale. Because you know the industry, you will be able to connect the dots better, saying that your RPU is falling down, your rates are going down, and you're making money only in value-added services. So obviously, it's bound to assume that your bottom line will be under pressure. And hence, the services offered by us can help you improve your bottom line, can reduce cost and improve your bottom. Any organization, there are only 3 things. How do you improve revenue? How do you improve profit? How do you improve your cost? So if you're able to connect these dots with any of the story that you bring in, I think you're making sense.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come to the end of this session at 10 o'clock. You'd be happy to know that a total of 152 people participated in the session today.
Yep.
And Team Academy thanks each and everyone for joining in. Also, a feedback form would be shared with everyone, all the participants at the end of this session. Please make sure that you write back to us so that we know the points which we can improve upon. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Ram sir, for conducting such a wonderful session.
So one thing I want to pass a message to.
Yes.
I want all of the sales team members to use this concept of 2x2, apply this for one of their accounts, and populate the opportunities in these 4 quadrants, and then share with me, and I can possibly advise them how to improve. Because as I said, if you're able to populate the opportunities in all of these 4 quadrants and you have a uniform balance, then I think you've done a wonderful justice to the account, right? So please use this as a workshop. Each of you pick up one of your large account, apply this concept of 2x2 for that account, put those opportunities. It will guide you and help you to navigate in the account. And it will also tell you how well you have mapped the account, how well you have a long way to go.
Absolutely, sir.
Great. So everyone have a great day and a great weekend ahead. Thank you, Ram, so much. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bob.
Excellent, Ram. Cheers.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you everyone for joining in. Have a good day ahead.